Over the last 1,000 days, I tried to build a $100 million business, and here are the 7 things that I would do differently if I could go back and change it. And to put this in context, last year I spent over $100,000 on masterminds, education courses, investing as much as I could into education. And I'll give you a secret. Even if you don't change anything about what you sell, how you sell it, you could 10x the value of your business. Number 1 is build for value. There's a book called Built to Sell, and it's by John Werlow. And your business is essentially like a house. And so before you sell your house, more than likely, you're going to go off and try to make it better so that it improves the value of your business. And we'll just say, first off, what even is value? Value is what you are willing to sell something for and what someone else is willing to pay for it. Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, all of these people build businesses exactly like this. They build them for value with value in mind. And these are the things that they're doing that you're not doing. And even though that they work the same amount of time, they have the same amount of hours in every single day, they're able to make more money because they focus on the value and what someone else is willing to pay. In fact, when we talk to most people, their businesses are actually worthless. And that's okay because now you have a starting place. One of my mentors that I worked with this last year, he had a business and their business was, even though it was doing 100 million, there were still things that they had to do in their business that they were saying, essentially, their business might be worthless. And I'll give the example that he gave me, which instead of having a high-paying job, he had something called real value. His high-paying job had a lot of issues. Number 1 is if you have the hub and spoke model and you are just the lone guy and you just have 1,000 people who are surrounding you who just go on your every whim and you're number 1. That's it. What happens with a tire, and like if you were to take this entire, this bicycle tire here, and you were to remove the middle part, well, a tire without spokes is useless. This is the issue with businesses. You're your own business. You're everything. And at first that's okay, especially if you're under 3 million. If you're under that 3 million, that 1 to 3 million, you might be everything. I know guys with even 90 million businesses who still are hub and spoke businesses. But they're trying to fix that, which is the important part, is even if your business is like that now, it doesn't have to stay like that. So instead of having a hub and spoke model where if you remove himself, the whole thing just falls apart, he actually built real value. And there's tons of ways that you can value your business, but essentially, and there's a couple different ways that you can do that, but the way that he described it to me is you're going from 1,000 little helpers to help you out to an elite team of commandos where you have multiple people who can handle the job because that is valuable to someone else. Real value is less risky. So what I mean by that is you're more willing to buy from Amazon than some no-name store online because you know if I buy from Amazon, it's gonna get here. Or if I have any issues, I can return it. So that's the example of lower your risk. And so if you lower the risk of your own business, it will be more valuable to someone else, even if you change nothing about what you sell. All right, so with the elite team, instead, what happens, even if you lose someone on your team, guess what? You have 3 more people there who can help cover it. And that's how businesses work. This should work like this. If one person is too risk, if one person carries all the risk of the business, if one person, your business will not function. If that person's removed, your business is too risky and you don't have an elite team yet. And that's okay. Finding and hiring that right team is something that we'll get into later. We had a business come to us and say, hey, I'd love to know how much our business is worth. He came to us and found out his business is actually worthless. It was worth 0. He could sell it for the assets, the truck that he had, the equipment that he had, and that was it. When we told him, I was like, well, all you have to do is change the way that you do your business. You sell the exact same number of units, the exact same way, just change up how you sell them. He actually went from just having like a job that he could sell his assets to 5 times of what he makes in 1 year is what he could sell his business for. So he goes from 0 to making the same amount of money, but with the potential to make 5 times more if he just sold his business today, just based off of how someone else valued it. Number 2 is why. All right. Why are you doing what you're doing? And the thing I didn't really understand is when all of your incentives are aligned together, you're going to be able to accomplish great things, which is why a lot of these companies that are very large, they have stock options. Why? Because they know if we provide the company more value, our stock options will go up. And so their vested interest of the company is to provide more value. If you are on a mission, you will go farther than the person who does it because they have to do it. Who walks farther? The person who walks a mile because they have to walk a mile, or the person who walks a mile because they enjoy it? Person who walks a mile because they enjoy it will probably want to walk more. So get really clear on your why. Why are you doing what you're doing? And in fact, this same framework is the way that I do everything. I explained why you should watch it, why this video matters, why it's important to know these things, why you should care. Then when you move into what is it that you need to scale? Because hey, it's great to say like, okay, now that I know why I'm doing what I'm doing, what problem am I solving? What do I need to do to scale? How are you going to be able to do that? Because what is your bottleneck? If you knew your bottleneck, do you think that you'd be able to grow your business? If you knew what was holding you back in your business, you knew exactly what it was in your business, do you think that you could move on to the next step? I think so. Now you just need to figure out what that is, and there's ways that you can do that by data, which we'll get into later. How you're going to be able to do that is the next question that you have to ask yourself. So let's say that you're saying, I would like more customers, I need more leads. Well, how are we gonna do that? If you say, well, let's design a website, and a website is not your constraint because you get none of your customers through your website and all of it's just through social media, then do you think that working on your website is going to help you achieve that goal of the what we wanna do? No. Okay, so then just move away from that and say, I'm not gonna bother with a website because it's not going to affect it. So move back to how. Oh, just building more leads, that's your how. Then you're gonna find the who, because if you're doing everything yourself, and if I would have just gone back 7 years and asked myself, why am I doing this? And what am I going to do? I would have actually made way more progress because I got very clear on why I'm doing this. It's really the why ultimately in business is to bring value to other people. And if you don't understand that you're bringing value to other people in business, then it doesn't matter. Don't even worry about business because you're not in business, you're in it for other reasons. And you're not going to win against the person who enjoys doing it because their why is they just want to help other people. That person's going to enjoy it, they're going to do it for longer, they're going to go through all the garbage because their why is more powerful than yours. So let's say that you want to build a more valuable business. That's an example of what you're doing, like the why. Let's hear. Let's just say for you want to take an action, you say, I want to grow my business. So that's the why is because why do you want to grow your business? Because I want it to be more valuable. Let's just say that. And the what is you currently have a risk and your incentives are not aligned because you're currently using an agency and they don't care about your business. All they want is a paycheck and they're good. They don't know how to they don't really understand your business or your value because their effort is everywhere instead of focused on your business, which is where it should be. And they just want to sell for themselves more. Okay, so now you've discovered what the problem is. How are you gonna be able to fix it? Well, the way that you can replace a marketing agency is bring it in-house. That's how you can do that. Now, who's the person that's gonna be responsible for that? Maybe a chief marketing officer, maybe a director of marketing, maybe a marketing manager, whoever it may be, whatever your marketing channels is, that's an example of how you can use the why of building a more valuable business, the what of figuring out this is what is wrong with my business, and how you can fix it, which is bringing it in-house, and then who, which is the person who can actually help you with that, and de-risk your business, like I showed you earlier, instead of being a hub and spoke model and doing it all yourself. Oh, and if you want to know more about that, I actually made a video on how I added $10 million of value to a business just by using that same model. All right, next one is, went from why to 3, size matters. Size matters. Now, one of the big mistakes that I made a couple of years ago was I didn't know the formula for finding a market that was big enough for the goals that I wanted to. Is there, at the end, let's go back to number 1, the why. Why are you doing this? If it's because you want to do it and not because the market wins, like the market wants or needs this thing or service, then why are you doing it? And there's a great example of that. It's the Japanese symbol for, I think it's gaki or something like that. Right, what you can get paid for, what people value, and what you like to do. And then the perfect synergy is somewhere in the middle where you get to do what you enjoy, other people are willing to pay for it, and it's valuable. Find things that you enjoy and that people want or need. And those two things together are really important. But the size of the market matters because if you're selling underwater basket weaving courses, there's probably not going to be quite a big market for that. There's not a lot of people who are interested in that. And even if there are a lot of people who are interested in it, they may not have the ability to pay. So I went to acquisition.com headquarters, and the one question that I asked was essentially like, how do you find an opportunity big enough? And this is the thing that he told me. Number of potential units sold times LTV minus competitors. And I wish I would have known that earlier because I totally did not understand that at the time, and I pursued wrong opportunities. And if I just pursued the right opportunities in the right market that was of the right size, I could have made a much better living for myself. I could have built a bigger business just because of the fact that I chose the right market. And no matter what, the market wins. Amazon versus bookstores. Bookstores are amazing things, they're great, but the market simply just found that, oh wow, I can order from Amazon and it's way more convenient. I'm just gonna go through Amazon. And so even though bookstores are this really cool thing that provides something of value, People were just not willing to pay for it anymore because they were moving towards something more convenient. So that's an example of the number of potential units sold is very high. The lifetime value, maybe not as high, but the competitors just totally wiped you away and now you have nothing else left. So the lie sold to all of us is that all businesses scale equally. That's just not the truth. I had a multi-billionaire tell me not all businesses scale equally. Some businesses scale some better than others. And so not only choosing the right market, but choosing the ones that will scale the right way. I paid thousands of dollars for that information, so hopefully that's valuable to you guys. Number 4 is investor. Investor mindset. That's what I meant by that. I couldn't fit it on the board. Why should you think like an investor? Well, that's a great question because you could just continue to do what you're doing now and not make any more money, or you could think like an investor would, which is, by the way, when I talked about other people valuing your business, and so what value is just what someone else is willing to pay for it. The people who are going to be buying your businesses, this is how they think. So if you can think the same way that they think, like an investor, then your business will inherently be more valuable. McKinsey did a study, and all they did is they said, all right, who are the best CEOs and what do they all have in common? As you should do, especially if you're trying to be successful. A great way to do that is to look at, hey, all these people who are successful, what are they doing? Chances are you're gonna find some things in common. They found out that people like Warren Buffett, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, all those people who build these massive multi-billion-dollar businesses, it's not just one decision that they make and then they all of a sudden got rich. You didn't just win the lottery by putting everything on the right color and then, okay, that's how you made your fortune. It was actually 10, 20, 30, 50 years of making the right decisions and choices over and over and over and over again. So that's what I mean by you're thinking like an investor. It's not just the one decision that you make, like, oh, I decided I'm gonna open up a business and now I'm gonna be all very successful. Well, chances are if you haven't been in business for very long, you'll know that's not true. It's actually much more difficult than it looks. Value investors all have one thing in common, and this is the same thing that they all think. Not only are those decisions, but what are those decisions made out of over those long period of time? Comes down to one thing: return on invested capital. There you go. That's all that it is. If you want a better business so that you can get better results, which will attract better customers, which will bring you better profits. I think you would want more money good, right? Which means you can build a better business to get better results so that you can get better customers. More, better as well. It's interchangeable there. More profits, more business, more results, more customers, and also better as well. And so this is what all investors, they're all obsessed with. How can we build it? Elon Musk, when he was building Tesla, he said, well, what is a better business to do? All right, well, a more sustainable Earth, electric vehicles. And you're gonna get better results because it's cheaper than gas and it's less maintenance, which brought you better customers because they were the people who valued the right kinds of things, which brought you better profits. Took him a couple years, but he eventually got there, which made him put those profits back into building a better business, and now there's more affordable cars for everyone. That's just an example. Same thing with Amazon. They built a better business because they were competing against in-store, and so they had the convenience of 2-day shipping, which meant they had better results. And by the way, this should only increase the number of customers you have. If your business gets worse, the more customers you have, that is an example of a wrong business to invest in. You should not be in that business. That is a bad business. It will not scale as well as another business, which has the prolific profit circle. So Amazon will have better results the more people that they have, and they'll end up getting more or better customers, which will bring them better profits, and which will make them eventually a better business as a whole, which is why they're the multi-billion-dollar company they have. I guarantee no company that has been multi-billion dollars or some large, really successful company did not have this in one form or another. Great, so now that you know what it is that you need to change and like the prolific profit circle and focusing on your return on invested capital, there's a couple different ways that you can solve the problems or bottlenecks in your business, which is still number 4. There's a couple different ways that you can solve problems in your business. You can solve the right problem in the wrong way, or you can solve the wrong problem in the wrong way, wrong problem, wrong way, or you can solve the wrong problem in the right way. That's it. Those are your only 4 options in business when you're solving problems. And what is, like, once again, we go back to why and what. What is business? Business is solving problems. That's all that it is. So if you know that business as a whole boiled down to its basic form, fundamentals, business is solving problems, then why would you not want to be the best at solving problems? You also want to pick the right problems to solve, which goes back to picking the right market. So you can solve the right problem in the wrong way. So let's say you can solve the wrong problem the wrong way, wrong problem the right way, or you can do what you really want to do, which is the right problem in the right way. That's what you want to do. The right problem could be, hey, if your business needs more leads, then the wrong way to solve that is by turning off marketing. Solving the wrong problem the wrong way, hey, we need more leads. Well, let's just hire more staff to fulfill on the business that we already don't have. That would be the wrong problem, and that'd be the wrong way. The wrong problem would be, well, let's say that we need more people to be able to ship product out, and you decide that you want to get more customers, and so you just start marketing really hard, and you end up getting all those new customers, but you have no one to ship and fill it out. That's the wrong problem, because that's not your bottleneck, and you're solving it in the wrong way. The right problem the right way, which that actually brings us to our next step on how you can solve the right problem the right way. All right, number 5, we're on to number 5 now, we're almost there. OODA, OODA loops. All right, what is an OODA loop? An OODA loop is actually something that I learned when I was in the military. I had a great time learning, many things did not apply, but I will say this is the one thing that actually did apply. All right, so observe, orient, decide, act. Now, this is actually was built for fighter pilots, but a great example of this is, what are you observing? Most of the time it's going to be data that your business gives back to you. Now, by the way, you really should be the way that you observe data. It's number of leads, it is speed, it is cost per lead, it is how many units sold, it's your profit margins, it's all of the data in your business and data really should be in your business should be summed up by 10 data points. There was one business we worked with that was a multi-$100 million business, and they said, our business is actually summed up into just 10 points of data. And that was what the CEO and COO, that's what the leadership of the business actually looked at. They just looked at those 10 data points to be able to tell the health of your business. So they're observing data, and then they're orienting. An example of orientation on data is, let's say your cost per lead doubles, and it's Q4, and you sell a service on Facebook. You can use either past data or you can orient and say, well, I know that in Q4, e-commerce products spend a lot of money on Facebook ads because it's around Christmas time. So if I know that that piece of data is telling me that my cost per lead is going up, and I'm orienting based off of what is happening, and I can say, well, actually, even though cost per lead is going up, my orientation is that's fine because that's normal. Then you're making the decision on what to do. And by the way, taking no action is still an action. So you're deciding not to act. You're saying, well, based off of the data and based off of the timing, it makes sense that our cost per lead would go up, so we're not going to do anything. Or let's just say for no reason at all of a sudden you're, now a great example of an action that you can take is, let's say that your cost of the data is showing you that your profit margins are getting smaller because your cost of fulfillment is going up. Then you can orient. Hey, does this make sense? Is there more competition? Are there other people? Is there some inefficiency? So you're orienting yourself, and let's say you've decided that, hey, actually, we just have too much overhead right now and we can get rid of some of our software subscriptions. Now your action is, let's go ahead and improve our profit margins by finding the data that we observed, orienting based off of what's happening. Hey, there's 5 softwares that we're not using that's costing us 5% of our revenue. Let's go ahead and just decide to act and cut all of the softwares that we're not using, just as an example of using an OODA loop in action. Every single person, there's one person who I love this, Brian Johnson. He's a millionaire that spends like $2 million a year, I think, on his health. And he uses these same OODA loops, these same OODA loops to be able to make decisions on his own health. Every single business owner, athlete that you can imagine, and this is what Brian Johnson does. His observation is, hey, all of a sudden, I'm butchering it because sorry, Brian, I don't know. You're observing that your blood pressure is going up. You're orienting, hey, does it make sense because I'm working on the treadmill right now or lifting, or is it just that I ate something outside of olive oil and salad? Sorry. Poor guy. Then I'm deciding that I want to eat something different, or I'm deciding to get off the treadmill, whatever it may be, and then that's you're making your action. So that's an example of an OODA loop in action and how athletes use it to make their own decisions based off of the data that they have available to them. And let's just go back to this. Your OODA loop, your data, you're allocating, you're acting with capital. That's all you're doing. You're observing with data, you're orienting based off of the market, you're deciding because you've already know how to think like a CEO investor and a value investor, and now you're deciding to act because you're really good at return on invested capital, ROIC. So now you're figuring out, how do I act with the capital that's been given to me? Which brings us to number 6. You go from OODA, OODA man, to capital. All right, money, capital, media. So what is money? Money is, what is capital? What is labor? People who are willing to do the work for you. And this comes from Naval Ravikant, who's like very deep in Silicon Valley, and he's really great. He's a really great value investor. He's a really great capital investor. Money, so this is just money to invest. This is like permission leverage. This also, money is also capital, so it's a little bit of both. But essentially this is like the different forms of capital, and money is one of those forms of capital. So this is something you have to ask people for. Money is also like an example of something you have to ask for. Media can be software, it can be videos, SOPs, whatever it may be. These are all the things that make your business more valuable. The way that you decide to allocate your capital is what will have the highest impact on the business. As an example, if your cost to acquire a customer is 5 times higher than anyone else in your industry, then what it is that you need to solve is reduce your customer acquisition cost. How are you going to be able to do that? Well, I don't know, but you could hire a marketing person to figure that out for you. That's an example of finding the who to be able to help you out. You're applying labor and money to the problem. And let's say that your close rate is 15% and it should be 35%. Hire a sales team leader if you have an entire team that you need, or you're using people and essentially a form of media, because this person's probably gonna make training if they're a sales team leader, to bring and solve that problem. How they're gonna do that is probably with themselves. They're the ones who are acting, and they're gonna build out media, which could be training videos, it could be docs, SOPs, whatever it may be. That's what that person is gonna do for you. Let's say you can't grow your team because you don't know how to hire people, then you need to find someone who can help you build the skills to be able to manage the team and the people so that you can grow. If you're solving problems like that and you're trying to grow your team, that leads us perfectly into the next one. Go from capital to who, not an owl. There's a book called Who Not How, and it tells you exactly that instead of figuring out how you should do it yourself, how can I solve this problem myself, you find who can help you solve that problem. So now that you understand the concepts of being a great capital allocator and investing, what is the highest return on invested capital, the next skill that you need, because you know one of the tenets of capital is I need to learn how to apply people to problems to fix them, or who, not how. Now you need to get really good at finding your who's. Here's the number one thing that I see when people are looking for their who, not how, is volume. That's it. They don't do sufficient volume. And what I mean by that is if you're about to make a hire that's going to cost you, let's just say $100,000 a year, volume. If you're about to make a hire that's going to cost you that much money, why would you not spend a little bit of extra time and money on the front end to make sure that this person is as qualified as possible so that they can have a great return on your invested capital? You want to interview as many people as possible because you should have so many good qualified people to choose from that you make it hard to choose. If you interview 5 people and you just say, man, there's no great candidates, I'll have to settle for one of these people. Actually, it's not that there's no great candidates. It may be that you just didn't talk to enough people or you didn't look in the right places. You are spending all of this time and money marketing for new customers, but you spend virtually no effort hiring and marketing for your employees. And the way that you attract the top talent in the entire world is very similar to how you attract better and more customers. Do you have a hiring page on your website? Does that hiring page have a video where people can see what it's like to work for you? When you post a job out there and they search your company up online, what are they going to find? Because they're going to find the dirt. They're going to find the things that are wrong with the business. Is the job description written like ad copy? Does your headline meet expectations? And I think even if you have a bunch of applicants, the next step is really good expectations. The way that you hire a great team and be able to grow and scale is you tell them your expectations are to build the ladder out from under you. You are coming in on this rung, and in order to build the company, you need to help recruit the team from under you. And how do you do that? You can allocate capital, you can allocate SOPs and procedures, and you can say, hey, I think that if I hire a team under me or if I recruit the team under me, that I can build the team to be able to expand the business. Those are the kinds of people that you need. Setting really great expectations from the beginning and saying, even if you're coming in at the bottom, even if you're coming in somewhere in the middle, your expectation is that everyone who works here at this company, every single person is a sales rep first, and their vested interest needs to be aligned so that Everyone gets to the gold at the top of the ladder. Another thing for expectations is you should set the goal for what the next 2 roles that they're going to be working looks like. Let's say they come in technician. Hey, your next skill is a manager. Your next skill after that is a director. And the way that you do that is, and you set really good expectations, you get very clear on KPIs. Every single one of these people here should have 3 KPIs so that there's no, maybe my job is doing good, maybe my job isn't doing good. There's solid numbers of, are you winning at this job or are you not succeeding at this job? That is what success looks like. And guess what? It's not the employee's job to set expectations, it's your job because you're the person who's responsible for allocating capital, not them. And if you want them to be responsible, which you should give some of that responsibility to them, you have to teach them and transfer what you know. Even if you're looking for a who, that who is going to be useless if you don't set the right expectations. Biggest takeaways that I have outside of the 7 things that I just learned, one of them was you'll make other people 10 times the amount of money that you'll make yourself. Even though last year we generated roughly $30 million for other people, we kept fairly little of it to ourselves. Just focus on how you can provide value to other people. What problem are you solving for other people? And if you want to see what all this information and advice looks like in a side of a company, we actually did a breakdown right here. How I added $10 million to a business in 120 days. I broke down everything that I used in the formulas that I shared with you here in this video right there. Also, if you would like to add value to your business, go ahead and click the button below and I'd love to talk to you and see how we can add value to your business.